Hi, this is Rory Evanson Fair, and I'm the creator of Boat Madness, the actor. You can see me right there as well. Director, editor, sound guy.
How was Boat Madness made?
So Boat Madness was started in 2009, early 2009, and was filmed whenever I could, just in parts, and put on YouTube, originally just as independent little episodes. And it took me about 18 months, or in between there and 2 years to finish, so it's like in between a year and a half and 2 years to finish, just doing it sort of on the side. Now, I didn't have a cameraman for most of it. I didn't have anyone. I did all the editing myself. I didn't have anyone making the music, even though the music, I made was not exactly like professional. It's just me messing around. It's all me messing around. But, it's a very small production. In the beginning, it was completely on my own. Probably like the first half an hour of the movie, you'll see like there's no one else there. It's just me. And I had to film it. I had to do all of it on my own. So it was filmed in parts. And each part would basically be like 1 or 2 days of filming. And you can see that they're all individual scenes. Usually you can tell a part is different from the, a previous part or the next part, just because of who else is in it. Usually it's either just me or me and one other person. So when you see it's just one other person, that's usually me and them would alternate filming. We would, come up with it together.
How much was planned and how much was improvised?
I'd say it's about 50-50 as far as stuff that needs to get done to stuff that's sort of, this is funny and interesting, let's go with it on the fly. Later on, they became more and more sort of rigid in the plot. Earlier on, it was way more, let's just do something interesting and fun. So much of the early dialogue was improvised, and when you're improvising dialogue to yourself, that is difficult because you have to improvise both sides, and you just have to, if I was smart about it, I would have watched everything I'd improvised as the one character and then done it over and then done the other one. But I would just improvise one and improvise the other and then hope that they lined up. It is hard to do it that way. If I had if I had written it down and I had had a firm idea and I was sort of smarter about it, it might have been a more coherent movie, but it wouldn't have been the movie I made. So many of the ideas come to me on the fly, and they go on the fly. I'm not stuck with an idea. If I think something better will work, I go with it. And that gives me sort of, especially because it's a low budget thing, it's just two guys. It gives me and everyone I'm working with flexibility to explore things as they come up.
How much input did everyone else have on Boat Madness?
Other people had some input. They definitely did. Especially with how individual scenes would go, with how individual shots would go, with all that stuff. They would definitely, I would listen to them, and if I felt that their ideas were good, and a lot of times their ideas were good, I would go with it. I still had something I wanted to say and get done, so I couldn't always use their ideas, but I tried to take in ideas whenever I could see them, and it always helps if you're able to have other people's voices around. And that might be why some scenes feel different than other scenes, just because all the scenes are like little two-man projects. They didn't get to really change the storyline, but they got to basically change the scenes. And if they weren't comfortable with saying something, or if they didn't feel that it was natural, or they didn't like something, I didn't go with it.
How did you come up with the character of David Rhodes?
When I was in college, we had a 6-person suite together, so 6 people living together, and one of our friends dropped out of the college, so they placed a random kid to live with the 6 of us named David Rhodes. And David Rhodes was he was like 5'6", he was a computer science major, he had a beard, he was one of the most awkward people I've ever met, he smelled terrible, all he did was play Mario Kart all day long. So anyway, as the year went on along, David Rhodes became more and more sort of secluded and weird, and the rest of the 5 of us became more and more sort of rambunctious, and eventually he sort of he had to be like committed to the hospital and sort of went crazy. And and then when he came back, he blamed me. He said that I was the one who drove him crazy, which I think is kind of like a cop-out because I didn't really even see him that much. Like, if I had driven him crazy, if I was the one who had actually done that, like, you think I would have had to put in some effort. Like, I barely ever saw the person. Just me being me was enough to drive this kid insane. And so, after that, I would just call myself David Rhodes. In most of the movies, I would just go by David Rhodes if I'm doing anything, like, crazy or weird. Basically, my goal in life is to become famous enough so that he will eventually see me and think that I'm trying to steal his identity. This is going to be hard because the kid didn't watch TV, he was so secluded, he was in such a weird little bubble that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this.
What is your favorite scene?
My favorite scene in Boat Madness is probably the one where I fight myself. And I think it's not the best scene in Boat Madness. I don't think it's the most entertaining, but I think for me, it was the hardest scene to film. When I was working on it, it felt so new and weird and different to me to do this, and it combined, I had to do martial arts, I had to do the choreographing, and I had to do the filming, and I had to do all the effects. It just took so much of me to make that scene that in the end I really enjoyed it a lot more.
What is your least favorite scene?
My least favorite scene by far is the confession scene where Dr. Willie admits that David Rhodes doesn't have boat madness, because it's the only serious scene in the movie besides the last scene. And I just don't think that I'm a good enough actor to do it justice. And I don't think that I pulled it off enough. I would have liked to have cried during that scene and made it really emotional and powerful, but I just am not that good of an actor.
Do you have any regrets?
There's a lot of little regrets I have when I watch Boat Madness, because I was so rushed on time. Most of the time I'd only have someone working with me for 2 hours and I had to get a scene done. I didn't set up shots as well as I would have liked to. The sound was always a real issue with me. I was always having trouble with the sound. I wish I had a better microphone. I wish I even had a microphone. And a lot of times the transitions aren't as good. So there's a lot of little stuff like that.
Did you get hurt filming anything?
There were several scenes where I did things that were pretty painful. The whole torture scene was pretty painful. Waterboarding, that was the closest. That was the closest we knew how to get waterboarded. We were going to look it up, but we didn't, and we didn't really do it right. But it felt awful, and we had to do several takes of it. And by the end, I felt really, really bad. I felt really crappy. I just didn't want to do another take. I couldn't, I got a really bad headache. I was feeling really sick and tired. It really takes a lot out of you.
Are you sexist? Why are there no women in Boat Madness?
Well, the simple answer as to why there are no women in my movies, except for my mom, who, the second she appears, gets knocked out and then dies in the explosion, I guess, is because no woman would agree to be in Boat Madness. It's hard to find people to be in your movies if you're not paying them and you don't have a lot of friends. So I basically just took whoever I could get and used them however I could. Pretty much everyone who appears in the movie is just just old friends of mine, except for Joey Mills. We all went to high school together. None of them have great acting abilities, including myself. We're not actors. We're all just guys just making ends meet, but we can all sort of do our bit. We can all play enough of a role to get something across. Yeah, none of us are going to win Oscars. None of us are going to go on to be professional actors. And I was lucky that I could even get them, because a lot of people are really judgmental. And Boat Madness is a really weird thing, and most people, when you show it to them, they don't react that positively. They just say, why don't you just get a job or something, why are you doing this instead of getting money or going to a bar or something? It's an odd thing. So I'm lucky that I had anyone to do it with, and I'm really thankful for them helping me out in filming this. I know they had a good time because I had a good time filming it. I know they had a good time with me, and thanks, I really appreciate it. You know, I part of doing Boat Madness to me was just, it was an excuse to get out of the house. It was an excuse to go out, and it was more of an adventure. You know, in the movie, it's supposed to be an adventure. You know, going out and getting pure water, fighting all these guys, and jumping around, getting hit by car. Oh, that's an adventure, but that's like a fake adventure. The real adventure is going out and filming it, going out and finding the locations, going out and putting in the hard work, and actually getting it done. That's the real adventure, and that's the real thing that's worthwhile, to me at least, is that the actual doing of it. And so I'm glad that I could do that. As you know, I'm glad that I had the ability. The camera only costs like, I think it costs like $700 or $600 a long time ago. That's a lot of money, but it's within reason for a lot of people. The computer was like $1,000 that I used to edit it. So, you know, that's basically the only expenses, and then everything else is, you know, a car, yeah, but it's just whatever you have around. And so you can do a lot with so little nowadays. With this camera, with the computer, you have so much available at your disposal with so little that it's great to be able to do that.
What do you hope people will get out of watching the movie?
Boat Madness is not a typical movie, and I'm not a typical guy. And in a way, me and Boat Madness are very similar. You know, we're sort of both all over the place. We don't really know what we want to do. We don't really know where we're going. But what I would hope someone who watched the movie would see is that just because something doesn't make sense, or just because something is different or weird or a little bit off, doesn't mean it doesn't have something of quality, or something that you can relate to, or something that you can bond with. I would hope someone who watches it would just be able to get past all the flaws, get past all the jumps in logic, get past all the continuity breaks, get past the, you know, shoddy production values, and just see something interesting in it. You know, I'm not expecting everyone to love this movie. I'm not expecting everyone to even like it. I'm only expecting a small percent of people to enjoy it. But I would hope that most people could see that there might be something to it, even if they don't like it. I'd like to thank everyone who helped me with the project: Dan Rowe, Joey Mills, Marcus, Ryan, Omar. I appreciate you guys going out and helping me when a lot of people wouldn't do that. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching the movie. Hope you like it and everything else. Have a good one.